Hello everyone, my name is Kevin and today I'll be presenting on the cash bail system in California. This policy is a major part of the criminal justice system and affects individuals before they are even proven guilty in court. I believe this is important because in the United States, people are supposed to be considered innocent until proven guilty, but this system can still keep people in prison before their trial. From a social work perspective, this topic is important because it impacts vulnerable populations, especially low-income individuals, and can contribute to inequality in society. In this presentation, I'll explain what cash bail is, how it developed historically, the problems with the system, and what changes we can make to make it more fair. Alright, so what is cash bail? Cash bail is when someone who has been arrested can pay money to be released from jail while waiting for their court date. The purpose of the system is to make sure the person returns to court. Essentially, if they show up, they get their money back. However, if they don't, they lose that money. So it's basically used as a financial incentive to make sure people come back. However, the issue is that this system depends heavily on how much money someone has. For example, two people could be arrested for the same exact crime, but one person might be able to pay bail and go home immediately, while the other person has to stay in jail simply because they cannot afford it. So even though the charges are the same, the outcome is very different based on financial status and backgrounds. This shows that the system is not really based on fairness or risk, but rather on money and the financial background of the convicted person. So why was bail created? Bail was originally created to avoid people in jail before they were proven guilty. The idea was that it would be unfair to hold someone in jail for a long time if had not yet been convicted of a crime yet. So bail was meant to protect individual rights while still making sure that people would return to court when required. This system was designed to balance two important things, which is freedom and accountability. On one hand, people should not be punished before they are proven guilty. And on the other hand, the court still needs a way to make sure they show up. So originally, bail was essentially made to be a fair solution to that problem. In earlier systems, bail was not based on money at all. Instead, it was based on trust and community connections. People could be released based on a promise to return to court, which is known as a personal reconnaissance. In some cases, family members or people in the community would vouch for the individual and take responsibility for them. This system worked better in smaller communities where people knew each other and had stronger social ties. Because of those connections, people were more likely to return to court without needing financial pressure. This shows that the system originally focused more on trust and relationships rather than money. And then we have the shift to the money bail. So over time, as populations grew and cities became larger, communities became less connected. Because of this, courts began to rely more on money as a way to ensure people would return to court. They introduced bail schedules, which assign a fixed amount of money depending on the type of crime. While this made the system more standardized and easier to manage, it also made it less fair. The reason that it does not consider whether a person can actually afford the bill amount. So instead of focusing on risk or behavior, the system shifted to focusing on financial ability. The problems. One of the biggest problems with the cash bail system is inequality. People with money can pay bail and go home, while people without money are forced to stay in jail, even if they not have been convicted of a crime. This creates a system where freedom is based on wealth instead of fairness. It also leads to jail overcrowding because many people are being held before trial simply because they cannot afford bail. Another important issue is pre-trial detention, where individuals are kept in jail even though they have not been found guilty yet. This can lead to serious consequences because being in jail before trial can affect a person's life in many ways. For example, people who stay in jail before trial are more likely to accept plea deals, even if they're not guilty, just to get out faster. This shows how the system can pressure people into decisions that may not be fair or just. The social impact. The impact of the system goes far beyond just being in jail. People who are held before trial may lose their jobs, fall behind on rent, or even lose their housing status. This can create serious financial problems that are hard to recover from. It also affects families, especially if the person is responsible for supporting others. In addition, there are mental health effects from being detained for a long period of time, especially in stressful environments like jail. From a social work perspective, this reinforces cycles of poverty and inequality because people who are already struggling are impacted the most. These effects can continue even after the case ends, making it difficult for individuals to recover financially and emotionally. So overall, this shows that the issue is not just about the legal system, but also about social inequality and how policies affect everyday life. SB 10. California attempted to reform the system through Senate Bill 10 in 2018. This bill basically aimed to eliminate the cash bail system and replace it with a risk-based system. The idea was, instead of using money, judges would decide whether someone should be released based on their level of risk, such as whether they are dangerous or likely to return to court. However, it didn't really work out because in 2020, voters rejected this reform through a statewide vote in California. As a result, the cash bail system is still in place today, even though many people continue to debate whether it should be changed. So why change? The system should be changed because it punishes people for being poor rather than focusing on the actual risk if they have convicted it. It creates unequal outcomes and does not treat people fairly. It also contributes to overcrowded jails and puts pressure on individuals who cannot afford bail. From a social work perspective, this is a major issue because it disproportionately affects vulnerable populations, including low-income individuals and marginalized communities. Overall, the system does not align with values of fairness and equality. The solutions. A better solution would be a risk-based release system. This means that decisions about release would be based on whether someone is a danger to the community or is likely to return to court. This approach focuses on behavior and risk rather than financial status, therefore making it more fair. In addition to this, support systems such as court reminders, check-ins, or community programs can help ensure that people return to court without needing financial pressure. This would improve the system a lot by making it both more effective and more equitable. Benefits. This type of change would lead to a more fair justice system. It would reduce jail overcrowding and improve outcomes for individuals and families. It would also better align with social work values such as fairness, equity, and support for vulnerable populations. Overall, it would create a system that focuses more on justice rather than financial ability. And in conclusion, the cash bail system has evolved over time, but now creates significantly inequality. Reform is needed to make systems more fair and focus on risk instead of the money. This policy shows us how laws can directly impact people's lives and highlights the importance of creating systems that promote fairness and equality. Overall, this topic shows how important it is to create policies that are both effective and equitable for all individuals. Thank you so much for listening and have a good one.